Cheers, vinyl community. Drinking rum and Coca-Cola, go down Port Cumana, both mother and daughter, working for the Yankee dollar. And I spent many Yankee dollars at today's record fair, and today I'll be showing you what I picked up. Starting off with two albums by the great British prog band Caravan. Waterloo Lily from 1972. This is one I was particularly looking for, a particular favorite Caravan album of mine, with the wonderful William Hogarth artwork from the Rake's Progress. And this is a US copy. Actually, after purchasing this, saw a British copy that, if I hadn't already bought this, I would have bought the British one by preference. This is still a nice, decent condition copy. It's got a cutout hole, which oddly doesn't go through both sides of the gatefold. And there's Waterloo Lily herself, showing off the Caravan fascination with ladies of the evening, which shows up in several of their songs. That was their last album with Richard Sinclair as the bass player, who also does the lead vocals on the title track about that very naughty lady. And then their 1973 album, For Girls Who Grow Plump in the Night. They're first with John G. Perry on the bass and Jeff Richardson on the viola, and Dave Sinclair returning as the keyboardist, was replaced by Steve Miller, not that Steve Miller, on the previous album. Cluster and Eno on the German Sky label, a all-instrumental, very low-key collaboration. Not quite ambient, a little more melodic than Eno's ambient mode, but definitely very sweet and low-key in sound. This was the first of the Cluster and Eno albums. There was another one credited not to Cluster as a band, but to Eno, Mobius, and Rodelius, referring to the Cluster members' surnames. And there's another one that you see that looks like a Cluster and Eno third album, but it's actually a compilation. And what we're hearing now on the Made to Measure series from Crammed Discs, Susan Daihim, I'm not sure how to pronounce that, Susan Daihim and Richard Horowitz. And the title is Desert Equations, Azax Atra. This is sort of in that vein of combining traditional Eastern sounds, in particular kind of Arabic sound or Middle Eastern vocal sound, mostly wordless, with electronica. This is from 1986, I think. Pieces have various years, but I think this was released in '86. And another interesting female vocal collaboration, Irene Papas Odes with music by Vangelis. And this is very much like a stealth Vangelis album with vocals. Really excellent. If you are a Vangelis fan, this is right up your alley, even though it's very different from his albums because of the prominence of the singing. It really doesn't take away from the progressiveness of Vangelis' own arrangements. Great Italian prog rock band Premiata Forneria Marconi, or PFM, and their first American release, Photos of Ghosts. And this is basically their album Per un amico, for a friend, translated into English. English lyrics are by Pete Sinfield, and this was released on Emerson, Lake and Palmer's Manticore label. And I'm just doing this quickly, so I haven't had time to clean up the covers or remove price stickers or anything. So a couple of albums by Klaus Schulze, Moon Dawn, which has Schulze joined by Harald Grosskopf on drums. This is a 1976 album on the Brain label. And the other Klaus Schulze album is Dune. The title comes from the Frank Herbert novel. And on this album, he is joined by Arthur Brown, the god of hellfire himself, who contributes vocals on Shadows of Ignorance. And another classic prog band, Vandergraaf Generator, with God Bluff. This was their comeback album after the band had temporarily split, and Peter Hamill had kept them all loosely together, all contributing to his solo albums while the band was inactive. And this brought them back with a roar. It's a classic album in their discography. And a little more out there, Verto, the album Krieg Volubilis. This is very psychedelic, outside, a lot of very noisy guitar, a little bit in the vein of early Helden, although there's quite a lot of variety. There's a bit of acoustic stuff, there's some real grinding guitar just by itself with no drums happening. Did I show the back? And moving on to jazz, Anthony Braxton Town Hall, 1972, Japan-only release of this double LP. And I don't know why it has these blank labels with just a catalog number or code on them. Ornette Coleman, Science Fiction. This is a Dutch copy. Great album with a lovely vocal song to kick things off. What Reason Could I Give? Sung by Asha Puthli. Next is John Coltrane, The Other Village Vanguard Tapes. This is a posthumous release from 1977 of music from the run of shows at the Village Vanguard in 1961. This is a sequel to one of the first releases John Coltrane did for Impulse, John Coltrane Live at the Village Vanguard. This is the band with Eric Dolphy on alto and bass clarinet, McCoy Tyner on piano, Elvin Jones on drums, and Jimmy Garrison and Reggie Workman switching off on bass. And this release, unlike the original Village Vanguard album, features contributions from a couple of guests who appeared contributing unusual instruments. On a couple of tracks, there is Garvin Bushell on oboe and contrabassoon, and Ahmed Abdul Malik on oud. This cover does have some ringware to it. I actually would not have gone for $20 for a copy with that much cover damage, but all these jazz albums were half price, so for $10, hey. And rounding out the jazz section, Michael Mantler, The Hapless Child. This is a wonderful, wonderful album based on the artwork and poetry of Edward Gorey. The vocals are by Robert Wyatt. There's also Carla Bley, Steve Swallow, Jack DeJohnette, and Terry Riepdahl. So it's a real super group doing vocal versions of the Edward Gorey tunes. It's from 1975? 76. Finally, some avant-garde classical music. The New Music Volume 3 on the Victrola label from RCA. This features music for flute with various ensembles. The flutist is the great Severino Gazzaloni, to whom Eric Dolphy paid a famous tribute on his classic Out to Lunch album. This is music of Luigi Nono, Japanese composer I'm not familiar with, Kazuo Fukushima, Luciano Berio, the Serenade 1 for flute and 14 instruments, and Hans Ulrich Lehmann. And that's it for now. Thank you very much for watching. Be well. Cheers.